It's just coming.
Hey.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sonic Talk number 283. We're recording live today, Wednesday, the, what is it? Quickly, 19th of September. And we have a couple of special guests. It's sort of special. We're doing a little bit of something different here. We've got a couple of chaps on the line who I will come to first. Mr. Dean Honer and Adrian Flanagan of the Eccentronic Research Council. Fully hatted up.
I'll take my ruler out of my mouth.
Yeah, got to follow the rules, mate. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. What a terrible pun. Who are there in your kind of in your Sheffield studio garret up there? You might need to sit a little bit closer together. I'm getting a little bit of a kind of I'm sure you've probably shared the back of a bus or something. You can probably handle a bit of that. So sporting splendid beards, hats, and sunglasses. It is very bright up there.
It's
How-
very
Very
bright.
similar.
So
Ready for all weathers.
Dean is on the left in the white hat, and Adrian, that's you on the right in the blue hat.
Black.
Black. Sorry, I can't tell. It's the colour balance of your.
It's our webcam. It's not very good.
Well, that's totally understandable. That's the way it tends to work. With this.
This is the north.
We're on the cutting edge of technology. Every pixel counts. So, guys, I want to say thanks for joining us. I'm going to introduce also our other two guests, and then we'll come straight back and talk to you about what you've been up to, because you've got some great music on the go in the form of the 1612 Underture. That's what they call a tease. So I will also say hi to Dave Spiers, g4software.com. How you doing, Dave? You well?
I'm all right. I'm coping.
Dave is, Dave basically set this one up because he's a mate of Dean's, or, well, I'm assuming he's an acquaintance, I think would be a safer assumption. G4 Software, course maker, fine software musical instruments. Thanks for joining us there. You're looking very posh, Dave. You've got a shirt on and stuff. Should I be worried?
I had a meeting with an architect this morning, so I thought I better not wear a T-shirt. In fact, I was wearing a Sonic State T-shirt, and Louise went, "Do me a favour, put a shirt on, take that off."
Architect, aren't you supposed to wear something maybe linen and collarless to meet an architect?
Yeah, well, I thought I'd just mix it up a bit, you know.
You radical, you. Anyway, Dave, thanks for joining us. And we'll also go over to Gaz Williams over there, songsurgeon.co.uk. In fact, I'm supposed to change that to a Twitter handle, which I haven't done yet, which is at Gaz Goldstar. But I'll put that up. Anyway, Gaz, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I've been having a really funny week this week. A couple of days ago, plumber came around to check out the boiler, and just got into talking a little bit and asked him if he happened to be a musician. He goes, "Well, I sort of dabble. I got some synthesizers." Turned out he got like a Roland System 100.
What? Good grief.
Yeah. And it's great, you know. So just as a coincidence,
that's a plumber that you kind of. I feel I trust a plumber who had a System 100.
Weirdly enough, I must say this while I remember, the guy who came round to read our electricity meter came in the room and went, "Oh, you're in the music business then?" And I went, "Well, sort of, loosely." And he went, "Oh, I've got a friend who's in the music. Have you ever heard of a bloke called David Lord?" And I went, "What? Bath, David Lord?" And, yeah. Oh, he's my best friend.
Well, there you go.
Bizarre, eh?
That is. Small world. A small world of plumbers and electricians.
I did have a plumber come round once, and he came through one of the rooms and he saw our instruments and he was going, "Oh yeah, I'm a guitarist, you know. I got a '62 Strat in the van now, you know. Yeah, my mum bought it me way back when, you know." And I was going, "Oh, cool, that's really interesting." And then he went on to say that he played on, was it Concrete and Clay or some like huge big hits in the '60s, and I was just like, "Wow, this is amazing." But there was that little whiff going on. There was a little whiff going on. And now, and he brought his guitar. I asked him, I said, "Let me see this guitar, let me see this guitar." He brought this guitar, out, and it was just like a cheap rap guitar.
Oh, didn't work out.
He was going, "Oh yeah, you know, yeah, my mum bought it me in 1962. I've had it all this." And it was like, obviously from about like sort of maybe 10 years ago or something. And I think the reason why I mentioned this, it got me kind of thinking just about like, obviously nowadays we just go straight on the net, check him out, look at his details, look at the band, Concrete and Clay, who did that song, who was in the, and there's no sign of him anywhere. It's all like, oh, wow.
Is he the meter reader with Munchausen disease then, perhaps?
but it just kind of got me thinking. This guy, he was probably maybe late 50s, early 60s. And I just kind of thought, he's probably been telling these stories for such a long time that he probably believes it. But
bless.
But we will. It just got me thinking, how we now want to check out everybody. We can check them out on the net. We can
it's
see
like the FBI.
Yeah, we can all be little FBI sort of dudes. But this plumber, by the way, he couldn't. He was too fat to get through the hatch. He couldn't even do the job.
And on that note, perhaps we should move on to our guests who are waiting patiently there. Unless, of course, have you got any amusing plumber-related or sort of visiting tradesman-related synthesizer tales you'd care to tell?
Conversely, we had Phil Oakey visit us today to look at our sink.
Ah.
It's true. And he walked off with our Oscar.
Oh.
Did he buy it?
Yeah, he's bought my Oscar.
Brilliant.
Nice. That tops it all. Yeah, I had Phil Oakey in the
We keep it short to the point.
I've got that actually. I've just got the sink and the sink. Nice. SY and yeah.
Sink and synth.
Sink and synth. Anyway, chaps, Dean Honer, Alan Flanagan, you're here now. Everything's we're ready. We're focused. We're ready to talk to you. You guys, the Eccentronic Research Council. It's an interesting kind of project, really. Is this the first, the 1612 Underture? Is this the first thing that you've been working on, or how did you kind of guys get together? That's a really cheesy question, but it's kind of quite a concept that I'll get onto a bit later. So, what brought you together?
We've done stuff on and off together for probably the last 15 years, I think.
Not long.
Would it be? When was the first Kings of Long Arm stuff?
Let's say 2001-ish.
Oh, right. It just seems like a long time.
Yeah. I was young-faced, youthful boy when he took me under his wing.
He was only 14 at the time.
He said, "I'll take you for a dicky back ride around the studio."
No, so I've recorded some stuff for Adrian for his pop band years ago, and we've done bits and pieces on and off ever since.
So it's just a sort of ongoing relationship that's kind of formulated in this. I'm going to play a little bit of the video for the 1612 Underture, and then maybe you can kind of give me a little bit of background and just sort of talk me through some of the other stuff that's involved in the making of such a great work. So here it comes. I might talk over it a bit to stop the YouTube copyright lawyers getting into...
Yeah, so what you see there is Maxine Peake.
Yeah, Maxine Peake, the
actress.
The famous actress.
Well known for playing Myra Hindley.
So am I right in saying that this is actually a kind of compilation of the entire album is in one video?
Yeah, it's like a short version.
Ah, gotcha. So it's like an edit.
Yeah.
Maxine's voiceover comes in shortly. And I'll let that come in, and then perhaps I'll fade back to you guys, and we can talk a little bit about the project.
Maxine.
The A666. Some call it the Devil's Highway, and some call it the Road to Hell. But I can't believe the devil came from Bolton, gorged on black peas astride a small stone elephant, and I don't believe he was ever a fan of Chris Rea.
I particularly like the fan of Chris Rea part of that. So that's Maxine Peake in the kind of video. She's part of the project as well. Obviously, you couldn't talk her into being here. I know she probably would if she could, but
yeah, definitely.
But so basically,
listen to Gaz's anecdote.
But in a nutshell, the project is essentially, from what I can gather, it's like a kind of celebration of the 400th anniversary of the Pendle Witches, which was a kind of infamous trial of, was it 10 or 15 witches? I guess it would have been
12.
16, 12.
It was 12 witches.
12 witches. Now,
Yeah, 10 died.
what was the kind of, what was the driving? Was this something that's been cooking for a while, or how did this project come about?
I got talking to Maxine Peake about witchy stuff because we're both from Lancashire. What's the question?
How did it get going? How did it start?
So we anyway, me and Maxine went for a day out to Pendle because we've always been interested in Pendle Witches. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a big. What's this like? This trail by camera.
No, that's all right. It's the same thing, but kind of 400 years later. I just
Yeah, exactly. It's like Sith Lord Dave Spiers in the middle.
Did the one thing I wanted to ask, because a friend of mine actually had a girlfriend who lived near Pendle, and he went there and he said it was the scariest place he's ever been. Is that true, or is that just kind of the sort of rubbish that is designed to sell haunted house tours and that sort of thing?
Designed to sell
Haunted house tours.
witch tea towels, I think, and witch coasters.
It's a bit spooky. It's a bit spooky. And the people are a bit weird there.
It's quite hard to get to, and you just kind of stumble upon it. It's very kind of back road, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
well, I suppose it's
a beautiful day, so it's quite a picturesque place.
And we were being watched over by Alice Nutter's relative.
Yeah, we went to the church.
Witch mafia were watching over us.
We went to the church where one of the main witches apparently has a grave, and we were there to do some photographs for a newspaper, and the lady that was with us all day at the end, she says, "Oh, I'm a nutter."
As in
one of actually related. So her family had been in the village. She was actually related to supposedly one of the head witches. Is that right?
Yeah.
So her family had been in the village for
more
than 600 years.
Yeah, her family lived in that house for 500-600 years.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing there's two aspects to this. Obviously, there's the sort of literary aspect, which is the poem side of it, the writing, which is that kind of your bag, Adrian, or are you involved in the music as well?
Correct. Yeah, well, both really. Both.
Adrian did all the writing, all the text.
Yeah, I'm better at writing than I am talking.
And we did the music together.
Yeah. Right. Because there's basically it was just out. It's on Finders Keepers Records, and it's fair to say it's a kind of concept album, really. I mean, you don't really get many of those these days, and that must be something that you must be proud of in a way. Because I mean, you don't get certainly many electronic concept records either.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I think it's because we always try and do like pop music, so it was good to have that sort of free reign to use Dean synthesizers in a way that we don't normally use them. Really.
Yeah. And we're both we've both been talking about and been influenced by a lot of stuff from the 60s, the Radiophonic Workshop stuff.
Ruth White.
Yeah, it was a woman called Ruth White who was around in the 60s who did some really creepy electronic music with Baudelaire poems over the top. Was one of the albums, wasn't it?
Yeah, correct.
So we've been talking about it, and it just seemed to come together quite naturally, really.
So where did you start? I mean, did you start with the idea of creating a sonic landscape that the words would work into, or did you just kind of, wait for it to happen?
Yeah, well, the thing is, like I was saying, as I was about to say, I went to Pendle with Maxine Peake, the actress, just for the day, just to scan the area. That was my research for it, really. But then it was only like months afterwards that I decided I'd like to write something about it, which just came quite naturally once the seed was about me.
And with the instrumentation, it's simple, but everything is kind of very specifically positioned. I mean, there's rarely more than 2 or 3 elements going on there. I mean, do you find that something that is easy to do, or did you have to be really disciplined about it?
I think it was a case of leaving enough space for the words, because it's all about the words, really. So try not to clutter it up too much, and try not to distract from the actual listening to the words.
But it's also too, we like to kind of de-urbanise music a little bit rather than having the usual kind of dance beats and all the rest of it in there, like you would do with an electro pop tune, for instance. Do you know what I mean? Which is
absolutely.
The other side of what we do.
Yeah. Okay. So this was.
So it was kind of like stripping back to like old school sort of soundtracky music and library music, and kind of trying not to use so many beats.
Yeah, I mean that's very tempting because beats are very much the kind of the transport for everything these days, and they take up so much room. It's hard to leave any nuance, isn't it, around it? I guess.
Whereas if you listen to sort of music without the drums or the beats, it sometimes sounds really good. You know what I mean?
That breakdown becomes
unlearn what you're used to listening to, I guess.
Yeah.
So, are there are there kind of instruments that you reach for more so working in this particular in this project than you would other ones? Because I notice there's some sort of fairly complex stuff. It's also fairly bright and almost happy and light as well at times. You can infer a lot in that. Did you try and limit the number of instruments you used?
I think we just went for the oldest ones we had, really, and the most ancient.
Yeah, we used like the M Symphony quite a lot, didn't we? And
okay.
The EMS Symphony. There was the mini Moog, and
Oberheim used that quite a lot.
The Oberheim 2-voice. They're really the main ones.
Yeah.
And of course, the really ancient G-Force Emtron as well.
Absolutely. Well,
really old.
I'd imagine. Well, you've already said that your studio is at the top of the stairs. I'd imagine getting a full Emtron M400 up there would have been a little bit challenging.
Yes, yeah. It probably wouldn't fit in my studio anyway.
And in terms of the beats that you did use, was that from the original machines, or were you kind of sampling, mixing, and matching?
Most of it either came from the original machine, or we made sounds. We made beats out of synth noises.
Yeah, a lot of the beats are kind of
like
kick drums and snares are kind of off the Mini Moog. White noise off the Mini Moog is really good for snares and stuff. So a lot of it's kind of made up. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
So avoid any kind of urban elements. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. I've got you.
Like folky in a weird way.
Yeah. So, in terms of the way that you do that, obviously one of the, if you listen back to some of the early Human League stuff, which I guess you must be familiar with, having had Phil just over for the Oscar, that the way that you play that in, did you play to grid, or you just try and leave it all loose and work? Because it does sound quite rigid and tight. If that's
some of it was.
Well, not some of it's quite loose. We tend not to use that much MIDI, so we usually just play stuff in live and then cut it up afterwards to tighten it up if it needs it.
Right, got you.
So I don't use MIDI because my MIDI's rubbish for some reason. It's just not tight, you know what I mean? It's just infuriating. At the moment, I play stuff in. If I do play stuff with MIDI, it's kind of, it comes back like a quarter of a bar too early and stuff. So it's just really annoying. So we tend to use I use Cubase. I tend to use Cubase as a multi-track tape recorder, which you can edit on really simply. We don't use that many MIDI instruments, really. As I say, the only kind of real MIDI instrument we used on this was the Emtron.
Right, so
except
the rest except no
less, the Underture.
Dave must be feeling very proud at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think he don't look it, does he?
I was going to just try and record that.
It's not moved.
I thought he's staring us out.
He's just trying to make out. You've got a very atmospheric shot there because you're with the light shining behind you, and it's also so very bright there. So, you, Dean, you're not originally from Sheffield. You kind of moved up when? What was it attracted you about the area? Apart from the beautiful scenery, I'd imagine.
The beautiful ladies.
Of course.
I was about 18. I met someone from Sheffield on holiday. It was someone I ended up living with in London, and used to come up and visit Sheffield, and the music scene was really good at the time. So we're talking kind of early to mid 80s, when sort of bands like, there was quite a lot going on. Cabaret Voltaire, Clock DVA,
The All Seeing Eye.
Heaven 17, Pulp and stuff like that. And I just ended up, I thought the music scene was a bit more vibrant and a bit more contained in Sheffield than it was in London. It was a bit friendlier and stuff. So I just ended up moving up to do music, which is what I've done really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got you've got quite a pedigree of kind of flirting with the pop charts and some of the more experimental side of electronic music as well. I mean, your stuff, I'm starting out, or certainly coming to the fore anyway, that I'm aware of with the iMonster stuff. I mean, what was there a kind of tipping point from when you were starting to work that way, where because the beat goes on.
That's All Seeing Eye, that one.
It was All Seeing Eye. Sorry, the one I was thinking about is actually Daydream in Blue. It was massive. I mean, it went absolutely massive. Was that the kind of first time you'd experienced that whole thing?
Well, the All Seeing Eye that came just before then. So I did have success with that in about 1998. So I think we had like 2 or 3 top 10 records. So I went on top of the pops and stuff with the All Seeing Eye.
Woohoo!
So that was quite. With what?
I said, great. Who else was on that week?
Who else was on?
Was it Sonia?
Now that's
Rob Williams was on.
Brilliant.
But yeah, no. So I had a bit of success before that, and the Daydream track was a big track. I think it sold quite well, but it didn't actually go. It sold very gradually over a long period of time. So I think it only sort of got into the sort of top 20 or something, or top 30. But I'm
trying to remember, because it had similar. Was there a basic underlying loop that was it a similar thing to the Portishead Glory Box track, or was it something else?
It was a different sample. It was a different sample. Ours was a sample by the Gunter Kalman Choir of a cover version of what was it?
Have you told him yet?
No, I've not told him yet.
No, don't give away your secret.
No, well, that's all right. You don't have to give the whole thing. I was kind of curious because
I'm trying to think of the band that did the original track, which I think was a Dutch band. I can't remember their name, but the Gunter Kalman Choir did like easy listening versions of 60s pop hits.
And they often had such a fantastic sound, didn't they?
We sampled that, and obviously it's like beautifully recorded, which a lot of that easily listening stuff was. So we sampled that, and that goes all the way through the track, and we put our vocoder bits and stuff over the top of it.
I wanted to ask that because the vocoder is very kind of highly stylized and brilliant video, by the way. With that, you're not the puppet master, are you? That was your.
That's Jared. He was the puppet master in that.
What was the vocoder then? Let's have some details.
It was an Electro Harmonics vocoder.
Oh, really?
70s one, I think.
Interesting. It has that lovely kind of sliding low end, that articulation that just kind of is very specific to that kind of vocoder, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that whole track was done using an Akai S3000 and an Atari ST. So all the music on it was just done inside the Akai.
Right. It's often the best way, isn't it?
Yeah, so all the vocals we recorded were recorded into the Akai and just played off the keyboard into the Atari.
Oh, brilliant.
Quite rudimentary.
Those were the days. I remember doing that sort of thing, and then time stretching, using pitch bend in the gaps to try and fit the timing back together with the...
Just Alan Flanagan.
Alan Flanagan.
You calling me Alan now?
Oh, hold on a minute.
That's it.
Can I jump in with a question now?
You've upset him now.
I'm sorry about that. Hold on a second. Have I got my facts wrong? I'm terribly... So, Adrian, God, Jesus. I can only apologise. I will fix that immediately. Yes, Gaz.
Flanagan and Alan.
Cool.
Sorry.
Cover my embarrassment.
With the iMonster Daydream, wasn't there something with the beta band having the same sample at the same time? There was something I seem to remember.
It is, yeah. Well,
what happened there?
We originally released a version of Daydream on an album in maybe 1996, I think. Slightly different version using the same sample.
Right.
And it took a while to get picked up, and a label picked up on it. And I think we were going to get signed. We were going to get signed to Heavenly Records, which was part of some other major label. And then they were told not to sign us because the Beta Band were about to release their big comeback single, which also had the same sample in.
Wow.
So we ended up signing to a different label anyway. But yeah, we managed to get ours out the week before theirs was put out.
Yeah, because I seem to remember that it scuppered their song a little bit, and they were a little bit miffed.
Yeah, well, you know, it's
all's fair in love and war and record releases.
We'd had that song, you know, our use of that track had been quite well known.
You've been on radio quite a lot as well already.
Yeah.
Cool. I wasn't sure which way it was, so that's really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, no, there's a few. I mean, there's been a few bands that have used the sample anyway, but I think ours is probably the most well-known use of it. I think.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the other thing I was going to ask you about was sort of moving on to your kind of just rewinding slightly. So, is one of you, or you know, do you work with kind of vinyl junkies, or are you a vinyl junkie and kind of finding all this stuff? I mean, where do you source all of your samples for? Are you a crate digger?
I'm not personally. I mean, Adrian's probably more of a vinyl man than me. But at the time when we did the iMonster stuff, Jared was buying a lot of easy listening stuff, and we kind of raided that for our first album, which we ended up releasing ourselves and giving away for free because it had so many samples on it. It was just unclearable. It would have cost like hundreds of thousands of pounds to clear it.
Just in administration, yeah. Because I mean, I guess in those instances, if it's a cover of an easy listening it's finding out where the original stuff was.
Yeah, our first album was called These Are Our Children, which had the original version of Daydream on, and every track used different samples. And we just did it for fun, and then people liked it. But after Daydream was a hit, we said, we've got all these tracks we can put on like the album, because we didn't have many tracks to follow it up for an album. They said, it's just like chock full of samples. So that's why it took us quite a long time to follow up the single with an album. It took us a year because we virtually had to write a whole new album.
Sorry, guys, we can't use any of that stuff. Have you got anything else? Yeah. I can imagine that must have been a bit of a shock.
Avoid samples. That's a lesson.
Is that it? Did it teach you that lesson? I mean, is that...
Nowadays.
Sorry?
We have tried to avoid sampling nowadays.
Yeah.
You know,
you see, it's too easy just to reach for the rare record in your collection, and
well, and also there are so many kind of collection agencies and people who specialise in just eking out this stuff, and kind of it's almost like the drive-by lawyer sort of culture, isn't it? There are people who only specialise in, I'll find a sample for you, you know, I'll find somewhere where it's been used, and no win, no fee kind of stuff, I guess.
That's why you hear so many people using Dave's Entron loops.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's probably true.
They're free, aren't they? Free. You don't have to clear them. So a lot of people, you hear them on telly everywhere in loads of different songs.
Yeah, the Octagon stuff is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, more people are kind of discovering that, and it's just got that vibe about it, that old school vibe. So you could mix that with something contemporary, and you've instantly got a kind of old nostalgic vibe. It just works brilliantly.
Yeah,
but no clearance hassle.
Well, that was another question I was going to ask you, because I mean, all the way through the thread, from the the iMonster, the
All-Seeing Eye,
the All-Seeing Eye, and the later stuff that you've been doing. I'm not familiar with the Add N2X, but there's and certainly this Underture, the 1612 Underture. There's like a sheen of vintage to the whole thing. I mean, is that a production process, or is it just kind of the way it turns out?
I think iMonster, we did like the idea of mixing up modern electronics with old samples. That was kind of what kicked us off, really. With it, we've always used kind of vintage analog synths as well.
Yeah, we just love the sound of it.
No, we like the sound, And so, we deliberately tried to give this the 1612 Underture. We've not used any samples really, but we've used old synths, but we've used them through old tape echoes as well. So a lot of it's got kind of a very 60s kind of feel to it as well.
Yeah, no, I've got that. And I mean, it goes fantastically with Maxine's kind of classic look as well. Even dressed as a nun. I mean, where did that come from? Why a nun?
From Adrian's brain, I think.
I liked the kind of the juxtaposition between like witchcraft and religion. Jesus. So-called good and evil,
Yeah, I can see that.
When in sort of in the 17th century, they were both exactly the same. they were both being hunted down and hung and executed for having their beliefs.
Yeah, I think I could see that. It was interesting. I mean, you've been doing some gigs with this. I did find a couple of YouTube videos of you. There was you played in Manchester at the 2022 club, and is that going to be an ongoing thing?
It's all. I guess it's more down to the availability of our famous actress friend.
Yeah,
really. We can only do really bespoke one-off kind of events, really.
I mean, and that's
because she works all for 4 months on a film or TV or whatever. Our time, and she'll have a week off, and in that week she's got to prepare for the next job.
Probably not wanting to do a gig particularly. Yeah.
So really. But we will be. We'll be doing the odd one-off here and there.
And are you doing that?
We're doing one in Sheffield next week.
Ah, right, okay. And how are you doing that?
A Spiegel tent.
Oh, the Spiegel tent. Yeah, that's been in Bath as well. That's down in Bath for the Fringe Festival. I've been in the Spiegel tent.
Was it nice?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like a recreation of the 1920s Berlin kind of like festival tent made of wood. It's really interesting venue, actually. Really good.
So I better go and get myself a basque to slip into.
I think that would be a very good look with the hat, the glasses, the beard, and a basque. I think there's what more could a girl need? How are you doing it live then? Are you taking this stuff out, or are you are you keeping it in the computer and the vocal? I mean, how are you doing that?
Yeah, we take about 6 or 7 analog synths out of those.
Yeah,
don't we?
And there's a bit of backing.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
only a little bit.
Only a tiny bit of backing.
Yeah.
Just like the drum loops and stuff.
Yeah, sure. Because I mean that's going to be a nightmare.
Because we don't want to take a drummer out with us.
I can understand that. Not many people do, really. I'm sure Dave can vouch.
Yeah, never take a drummer out.
It's not worth it, is it? It's not worth the risk.
Well, as I've said in the past, generally the better the drummer in terms of the micro timing, there's a sort of a non-linear graph of the better the timing on a beat per beat level, the worse it is on a kind of be there at 4 kind of level.
Right, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It's like this sort of weird time kind of inversion thing that's going on. I'm not quite sure how it works there, but that's I tend to find. And so, yeah, so you're doing some of these gigs. I mean, how did it go down? I mean, because on the face of it, this project is kind of quite left to centre. It's sort of, I'd say, it's quite arty and quite sort of electronic, kind of quite non-mainstream. But you'd be getting loads of media attention. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, what do you think it is that's kind of captured the imagination of the public or the punters or whatever?
I'm guessing because we're musicians who've used their imagination, and that doesn't happen too often.
A good answer.
Okay, that's all.
Excellent. Okay, right. I'm trying to think what else. Actually, this is a good point to go. We do have a sponsor for this show, and I think I might just pop in and give them a little bit of love. So if you want to hold that thought, I'll be back in just a moment. So thank you very much to Yamaha for their continued sponsorship of the show. What you're seeing here, if you're watching the video version, which I strongly recommend that you do, is a Yamaha world of apps. This is apps for the iOS devices, mainly on the iPad really, but there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can utilise Yamaha apps, from the keyboards ARP and drum pad, which is now actually the synth ARP and drum pad, with built-in synth functions, software synthesizer with 61 sounds, 7 kits plus effects, 5 songs, 16 drum pads, MIDI loop recorder, a whole bunch of stuff. There's also faders, XY pad, and this allows you to map the iPad controls to a bunch of different instruments from Yamaha: Motif XF, Mox, S90X, S70XS, Motif XS and Rack XS. Allows you to kind of set up the mixes, the EQ, the effects, all that kind of stuff. Multi-Editor Essential also allows you to perform, to create voice edits, effects and MEQ, also compatible with the same instruments as well. So for a Yamaha World of Apps, it's over 20 apps we're talking about. Oh yeah, here's the set list organizer. This is a really good one. Sends out MIDI program changes to your MIDI data, to your MIDI devices that you can flip in time with the set, along with notes for, you know, what lyrics you might need to remember. Very useful little application, and a whole bunch of them. In fact, if you want to find out more about the Yamaha apps collection, go to uk.yamaha.com. Thank you very much to Yamaha for their continued sponsorship of the show.
Hooray to Yamaha!
Hooray to Yamaha. Thank you very much for that help there. I'm sure. You use any you got any old Yamaha synth, guys?
Yeah. We use one live, the SY2.
SY2. God, that's the sort of organ hybrid synth, isn't it?
Yeah, proper one, yeah.
It's a monophonic.
Ah, okay. Yeah, and it's got the sort of those kind of 3-position fadery switches type things, isn't it?
Like you can choose. Yeah, it's preset sounds, but it's got a really good programmable section as well. And you can assign aftertouch to the filter or vibrato, and it's just got a really crazy sound. The Radiophonic Workshop used one in the 70s.
It's a precursor to the CS80 type technology, I guess, right?
It is. It's supposed to have a very similar filter.
Ah, that's nice.
Very similar sound to it. Dave I met Dave recently. Well, a few months ago, we met up, and he had a go on it and was mightily impressed, I think.
Yeah, we tried getting a couple. Failed miserably, but no, it sounds really great. Really does sound. It's a really quirky sounding, interesting synth.
It's got character, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot.
There's is there an SY? There are other SYs which are polyphonic that have more of an organ section as well, or am I completely imagining that?
I don't know. I know there's an SY1, which is the one just before it, which isn't as good, but I don't know. There was a few SYs, weren't there? Like SY later one, SY85, like digital things. I don't know what the organs were called.
Yeah, they weren't related to it, were they? The
SY85?
No.
I don't know what the organs were called. I mean, they did have a load of home organs that had the CS80 technology in.
Oh yeah, yes. Well, that's some of those real beasts. I mean, we've covered them in the podcast before when you see them showing up on YouTube, and it's like, buy a collect because you realise it weighs about 3/4 of a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Dave reaching for the A to Z of synthesizers. A book that every man should have. Dean, I'm assuming you might have some of this. I mean, where do you go for your synth collection? I mean, do you kind of like think I need one of these, or do you just see stuff and just go, yeah, I'm going to get that? Or I mean, how do you choose the instruments that you got? Because I mean, imagine you must have limited space and resources to have all of these things and keep them maintained, right?
Yeah, that's the main thing, really. It's good that I've got limited space. So it's like I've just sold the Oscar and I bought a Prophet 5, so they, financially it was kind of the same deal.
Is that what you tend to do? You tend to swap them out and kind of explore them, and then sort of. Yeah,
with some things are keepers that I keep that I won't get rid of. Other things, I'll just use them for a bit, and if I get bored, I'll sell them and get something else in.
So, am I sensing that you're getting into polysynths at the moment by the acquisition of the Prophet 5?
Well, I didn't really have a polysynth. I used to have a JX8P, which I didn't really like that much. So I just wanted a decent polysynth. I got like a Moog Opus, which is that was the only polysynth I had really. So yeah, I got the Prophet 5, which is all right. It's quite nice. I think I prefer to get a big Oberheim though. I prefer the sound of the Oberheims.
Yeah, I've never been able to afford one of those. I mean, so what's the core of your, what's your kind of core of synthesizers that you probably would never swap out?
I don't know. I mean, recently it's been the Mini Moog we've used a lot, and the Oberheim 2 voice. I've got an MS-20 and an MS-10. I've had the MS-20 since I was about 18.
Good man.
Yeah, we love the MS.
They're always good, and I've just sort of started getting like a modular thing together, which that will probably change. I'll probably sell bits out of that and add new bits.
Yeah, I mean
I'm pretty happy with what I've got. Really, there's not much else that I want.
That's such an unusual statement coming from a person who makes electronic music. All power to you. That is very impressive.
I'm not. I've got the EMS. I've got the Synthi as well. Which is endlessly, because I don't know how to use it properly, so it just always throws something up.
I don't think anybody does, do they?
No,
apart from maybe the bloke who invented it.
That's the great thing about it.
I think a lot of digital sort of instruments, though, kind of, it's like a devolution of sound in a lot of ways. I think whereas in the older stuff, always sounds that good.
It is.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Is there nothing digital that you use then? Are you purely in the analog world? I mean, is there nothing there that you think that sort of proves the exception?
We haven't got any digital instruments apart from software instruments. I've got a Yamaha. I've just bought that. Well, I just got an Emax actually off Dave.
Oh.
An Emax sampler, which I'm getting fixed up, which I'm really looking forward to. So I quite like.
Did it not work?
He won't be using that on my stuff.
It just had it's got a really noisy hard drive, but I've got a guy that can replace the hard drive with a card reader.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
So that I think that's going to be really interesting. It's got about 4 seconds of sampling time or something.
So Adrian, I mean, just coming back to you, so are you kind of like a
purist?
A purist, yeah. I mean,
No.
do you show up with a book and a few ideas in your head, or do you kind of have a writing system that you work on as well? And how does that work?
It's a secret.
Right.
I do it in all different kind of ways, really. Sometimes I'll use a dictaphone or something, and I'll have a few like ideas. Sometimes it's something written down. Sometimes it's something I've done on a laptop. You know what I mean? But I always end up analoguing everything.
Right.
Re-recording everything here with Dean. That makes sense, yeah?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So this is the kind of hub of where all the music kind of comes out of. Is this the room that you...
Yeah, most of it, yeah.
Do you mix there as well? Is that the kind of... Do you finish up?
Yeah.
You do everything there?
Yeah.
And how do you... Just out of interest, I mean, how do you monitor? What kind of monitor setup do you use to sort of...
I've got very old... what are they called? Teledyne acoustic AR-18 speakers.
I remember those. They were the equivalent of the NS10s, weren't they? Back in the day, you had those or the AR-18s.
Yeah, they're sweeter than the NS10s. They're all paper tweeters and paper cones. And I've got like some big subwoofer thing under the table.
That's me, Dean.
Hey, is that a subwoofer, or are you just pleased to see me? Yeah.
And just an old A&R Cambridge sort of 70s amp as well, really. Nothing very, very expensive or anything, but I'm kind of used to the sound of it now. I've had it for quite a few years, so that's sort of what's important to me. I
totally agree. I mean, you've just got to have consistency, otherwise it's so hard to know what's going on. I mean, I'm guessing this maybe have you always worked in your own space, or was there pressure perhaps when you were in All Seeing Eye and iMonster to kind of do proper mixes in big studios, pressure from record companies to kind of take that approach?
No, not really. We always insisted on not going into big studios.
But telling them that you were using big studios, getting invoices for big studios.
We've always just done it in back bedrooms.
Yeah.
All the All Seeing Eye stuff was done in back bedrooms. All the iMonster stuff was done in Jared's bedroom studio or my bedroom studio. I've done other people's music in big studios, but never my own projects, really.
And how do you find that transition? I mean, because the thing, when I was doing lots of remixes and they said, yeah, we want you to go somewhere to do it, it's just like, yeah, but I don't know where anything is or how any of it works. I found it made me very insecure.
Exactly. And, unless you take your own speakers with you as well. And it's okay, I suppose, if you're recording like a proper band, like a guitar band with a drummer, and you want that big rock sound, then sometimes you need to go into a big studio with a good sounding room. But I don't think I could mix anything in another room. You can record in other rooms, but not mix at home, I think.
Yeah.
Want a big rock sound anyway.
Who'd want it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, surely isn't that going to be the next project of the Eccentronic Research Council? I mean, you've got to kind of
do a rock album, yeah.
Do a rock album, like maybe
it's going to be based on the persecution of the Spice Girls. I'm going to get Mel B to voice it.
No, there's a thought.
Yeah, the way I roll.
Well. So, I mean, no, but seriously, I mean, what you know, I mean, this is only just going, I mean, it's got legs, you're promoting it, you're doing all that side of things. What have you got other projects in mind that you want to take forward from here, or is it going to be one-offs and occasionals?
Well, I think for this, the ERC thing, we'd like to do another record, but that's still in kind of the conceptual stage, thinking about what to do next. I'm doing other stuff. I still produce other people, and I'm doing an iMonster album as well.
We're doing the a project that another sort of project I do called the Chantuese and the Crippled Claw, which is kind of like a girl group with me in it.
Yes, I saw that with the water pistols and the Maxine Peake as a bunny rabbit in the video.
Yeah, that's where I first met Maxine.
That's a very different. I mean, I do notice there's a thread of kind of slightly cheesy horror and intrigue, suspense kind of movie going through both your projects. Is that just what happens when you live up north, or is it a kind of shared vision?
Yeah, it's just my imagination.
I think it is what happens when you move up north. Yeah.
Everyone's like that up here. Well, why did they not do that down south?
No, it's mostly dairy based, cheese, fudge, and cream based sort of references here.
We have to make our own food up here.
And ale.
Hey.
So next gig you said is in Sheffield next week. You say?
Yeah.
29th of September.
Okay, and then after that, I mean, obviously,
we're splitting up.
That's
in our separate ways.
I'm getting the feeling that
each other at the bus stop.
I'm getting the feeling that you've got a kind of slight Malcolm McLaren kind of tinge to the way you like to run the projects. Would that be fair to say? You like the idea of kind of creating entities for the sort of public facing side of things, rather than kind of being just you.
I don't know. I am just being me.
Okay. That's fair enough. Right, I think basically that's pretty much it. Is there any other stuff that you've got you want to kind of talk about? I mean, that's the sort of as far as my research can take me, or if there are any other questions from the panel, that would be now is the time.
I'd quite like to hear a little bit more about the No. 6 festival at Portmeirion.
Did you play that?
Yeah.
How was it? Because we were asked to go, but it fell apart.
Oh, it's brilliant. Really, really good festival. Really nice size.
Lovely people.
A kind of more mature audience, you might say, rather than
middle class, I'd say.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't like thousands and thousands of drunk students. It was kind of people with families and stuff like that.
People with taste.
Yeah,
And did you do the gig with Maxine there? That was the ELC.
Yeah, Maxine turned up.
Yeah.
She did it right.
In the ballroom, alfresco ballroom tent we were in.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was really good. It was packed out.
Which was curated by Finders Keepers and Bird Records.
Right, which is the label that you're on.
I'll publish record out, yeah.
Right, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were going to try and get up there and do some interviews for somebody else, but
it's really, really good.
Excellent. Never got
should
back.
happen all the time, but I have a feeling next year it'll be a different vibe because people will cotton on to how lovely it was.
Depends on what bands they have on and stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I suppose. Depends on the list of people, list of bands as to what the type of crowd they'll draw in. I think if they keep this.
If they keep having us every year, they'll get people who like sort of outsider poetry.
Didn't you order headline? Was that the?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to have pulled a big crowd as well, I'd imagine. So you've been making it a bit more mainstream, perhaps. That's always the danger, isn't it? You kind of the promoter wants to get the punters through the door to make sure they sell the tickets, but as soon as you start doing that, it turns into something else.
Yeah, definitely. It's a shame. But you say, I mean, it's a beautiful place, Portmeirion. Anyway, I'm a big Prisoner fan.
I've never been. Did they have plenty of large white balloons bouncing around the place?
They did. They actually did.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? You'd have to really.
Reenacting scenes as well from
doing human chess and stuff like that.
Oh, brilliant!
Did you do the gig in one of those blazers with the kind of trim around the outside?
Oh, New Order did that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're predictable. Well, that's because you know why that is. It's because they continue to use modern technology.
You think?
Yeah, I know.
Right. Maybe you should have a word. Maybe they need you guys to produce their next record.
Yeah, an Oscar off us. Everyone's going backwards. Because going forwards is
it's a dead end.
Going forwards is just too easy.
Right, guys. I think I just haven't got anything more to add to that. Really, I don't know what else to say. But I want to say thank you as a starter, because I bought the album yesterday. You can buy this from. Let me do all the buy it now here. This is the Eccentronic Research Council at Tumblr. There's basically the website with the project information on it. Oh, pick of the week on Rock and Pop in the Guardian.
Yeah.
Well done, chaps.
Yeah.
And Finders Keepers Records is where you can buy it. Nice cover. That's very that's a very sort of Peak District kind of thing, but in a really sort of modernistic way.
Designed by Andy Votel.
Lovely. I like that.
Who's the guy that runs the label.
Very reasonably priced at £8. Oh, you got vinyl as well.
Vinyl, yeah. Handmade.
Oh, that's nice.
Handmade sleeves.
Are you doing
Going
that
for
thing?
a kind of electronic folkways record.
Are you doing that thing where you do kind of special editions one where they get to have a night on the piss with you or something, you know, for extra money, or are you just keeping it to vinyl and digital?
Vinyl and digital at the moment, but it's a good idea. I like that.
I'm sure a night out with you guys would be worth every penny, frankly.
Yeah, this is us sober.
Okie doke. Right. So yeah, you can get it from Finders Keepers Records. Available now for download or vinyl. Is it limited edition vinyl? I'm guessing, or have you got?
Yeah, because it's like a handmade sleeve. So.
Right. Okay. So that's your limited edition.
100, I think.
Right. Okay. And lots of information about the project, and like I say, also at Tumblr. So, are you good at keeping up your blogs and info? Is this website?
Yeah, usually I've just been busy all week, so I've not updated the blog for a couple of weeks. There's been loads of pressings, trust me.
Yeah, no, I
There's
know.
Loads of glowing reports.
Absolutely. Well, that's why we're.
Are you related to Mike, Bat?
You know what? That's a question that comes up quite often. No, I'm not at all.
What were you calling me Alan before?
No, well, that's totally fair enough. I'm thinking, who's Alan Flanagan? Is he somebody else? Is it that?
I'm thinking of Flanagan and Alan.
Oh, was I? Yeah.
Musical stuff.
Well, that's kind of easy listening, I suppose. That's kind of slightly radical in the way that it's
queasy listening.
Queasy listening. Was it? Yeah. I can only apologise. Look, I fixed it. It now says Adrian Flanagan. But no, I'm not related to Mike Batt. No.
No.
I wish I was, because that would be great to have like a really wealthy uncle, because I'm sure he's absolutely minted.
Sure he is. We did a Radio 3 interview recently, like a proper poet thing, and we were giving our name tags. And mine was fine. It was like Dean Honer, guest Radio 3. With Adrian, it was Adrain Flanagan.
Just literally, no one can get it. No one can get it right.
I don't know what it is. There's just too many consonants in it. That's probably all it is. It just gets everybody confused. Anyway, thanks, guys.
Call me sir from now on.
Sir, well, maybe so. I mean, after this, you never know. You might get honoured.
Honoured. Knighted.
Knitted.
Knotted. Yeah, I'll get knotted. See you, lad.
Anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you on. I wish you every luck with the project. Actually, it's very interesting stuff, and the gigs.
We're gonna need it.
And maybe it may long continue. And we'll look forward to more stuff.
Executed.
Now you can now, Dean, you can feed your children, who I'm sure are scratching at the door in sort of weak and feeble fashion. Daddy, where's our pasta?
Exactly.
Mad Uncle Adrian's going to help him.
Uncle Adrian's going to cook it.
And some shandy tonight, kids.
Yeah, well, what a treat. Maybe you'll be even babysitting. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right, guys, thanks very much. That was great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
See you guys. Bye, Dave.
See ya. Thanks again.
Cheers, Nick.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Do you want to go now?
Yeah, I'll hang you up, and then I'll do the wrap ups.
Go on.
Bye.
Go on.
Wow, that was free form. Thank you very much for sorting that out, Dave. Though always interesting to have kind of electronic artists on, especially because they're doing it really well at the moment. I mean it's really captured the media.
It's fascinating because it seems whatever Dean turns his hand to always ends up kind of capturing some form of the media in some way. You know, he did a load of stuff in. I mean, obviously that he produced, or him and Jared from iMonster produced the last Human League album, but they've also done stuff with Tara as well.
Yeah, amazing.
So it's just like really, really prolific. And
the Sheffield Electronic Mafia.
Yeah,
there's a load of them. There's a load more bands from up there. I mean, I was a bit thrown because I had a feeling that Adrian would be
alive,
a bit live. So I'm just not used to dealing with people with such personality. To be honest, I'm used to you lot. people who have prepared. Anyway, no, it was great. I'm much appreciated, and I'd love to talk to Dean and the guys again. When there's more stuff to go. But yeah, I mean, there's Moloko, there's all the Cabaret Voltaire, there's the Human League. There's a real sort of hotbed of stuff up there, isn't there?
Yeah, I know Dean was heavily involved with the Add End to X lot, and I mean, it's a kind of font of knowledge, really.
Yeah, shame I didn't manage to get any questions together that actually managed to mine that. I
thought you did exceptionally well, Nick, I have to say.
Jesus, I feel like I need a holiday.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Well done.
But thank you. And thanks, Gaz. I know you didn't get much to, couldn't join in much there. It's often the way with these kind of interview style things because the dynamic is so, complicated, at least from my addled brain.
I wanted to tell them, though, that I watched the film, because the film's quite long, I think.
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes.
Yeah, and it's really, really entertaining. It's got a great vibe and feel about it. Well, I mean, as we've talked about, but yeah.
I like the social commentary aspect of it as well.
Yeah, there's some real kind of hardcore politics in there as well.
Yeah, it works for me. It was when it kind of got to that, I was like, okay, I see now. This is all good. I like this.
Yeah, good. But I mean, they're right though in a way though that they were saying about how there's a lack of music, lack of imagination in a lot of modern stuff, and it's kind of true, isn't it? That really going out on a limb and doing something very colourful, very characteristic, and
it's unusual, isn't it?
It's unusual, and it's a real shame, really. It should be the things that we kind of be hearing about a lot more. But I mean, great. I'm so pleased they've done it. I think it's great. I mean, it's kind of modern day prog rock in a way, in a kind of strange way.
Which is kind of interesting, really, because Dean is very much into his punk, and Jared, who's the other iMonster guy, is very much into prog. So that's their kind of, the whole iMonster kind of frisson is really based around that kind of disliking each other's music.
Interesting. Yeah, well, it's good to have a fault line, isn't it, in those sort of things, because then that's where you get the interesting stuff happening.
Yeah, no, I think what they do is really, really interesting. Certainly they had an album, Never Odd or Even, and it was like that kind of, which is where the Daydreaming Blue was. Oh, sorry, hang on, I'm going to mute.
Got you. I'll go here then. I'll go to Gaz.
iOS 6 is dropping today.
Yes, I wrote a little piece about it. I actually did some timely comment.
I mean, I am really cheesed off with Apple big time, and I kind of think, doing the Sonic Touch show is so people maybe think that I'm some sort of Apple fanboy, and I'm not. I just kind of, I love it being a platform of interesting new software and ideas. That's what I like. But the actual company themselves, they really wind me up, because I've just heard about how my iPhone 4, which is only just about a year old, a lot of all the cool new stuff that's coming out is not going to be on that. So it's kind of
isn't it? No, I think iPhone 4, it's 3S is the last one that iOS 6 doesn't work on.
No, iOS 6 will work on it.
A
lot of the functions which I've only found out today are not going to kind of function on my phone. And I'm just kind of thinking how mean. I know they play the corporate game, don't they, thoroughly, but
I wonder whether it's the process, because the thing I'm having the same thing, which is basically my iPad won't run iOS 6. Just won't run it. So that's that then. I have to get a new one if I want to run anything that's going to take advantage of any of that stuff.
But it becomes an interesting point, doesn't it? Because, I mean, how long lifespan things are having now seems to be getting shorter and shorter, doesn't it? It's sort of, there's almost a understanding that people want to only have a phone for
2 years.
2 years, yeah. Although I did actually think about this and thought, well, in the iPhone's case, what is pretty cool though is that it still remains an excellent sort of musical device, you know, running, because there's so much wonderful software still out there that'll run them. So, you know, so it still is, as opposed to I've got a drawer with some old banger phones in there that are good for nothing. You know, I just, as I say, I was a little bit annoyed with Apple, just thinking, you know, just because that just does seem to be shortening and shortening and shortening.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of I mean, you know, the thing that annoys me is the dock, the connector dock. I think that's just malicious, really. There's really no need for that. And also, it means that now, the other thing about the dock is there's no longer an analog out, or pin out on that. So anything that you want to take into the analog world outside of that needs a converter. So even if you get a lead, it's going to have an A to D converter into it or whatever.
I didn't know that. I mean, you can kind of understand. They've said, well, that connector's been around for 10 years.
So what? Yeah, and so that means what? It has to change just because it does. Just, you know.
Well, I mean, you know, people who make peripherals, I mean, the big companies probably would be fine, but I mean, a lot of the kind of, you know, music companies are going to be a little bit. I mean, like for instance, there's the new Tascam iOS. I can't remember what it's called now. It's a little Tascam. It's a little audio interface, and it's got an unremovable built-in connector that connects to a iPad or an iPhone, and it actually has got a little trapdoor that you can put it back into, but you can't disconnect it. And I mean, that's a new product as well. And
yeah, well, they're screwed, aren't they, for that? But I mean, you know, we don't need to have the latest phone. It's just got, you know, there will be. I mean, all they want to do is create lines around the block so that they can break the $700. You know, there are different motives for that sort of thing, and that's the thing that's annoying. You know, we just become pawns in the corporate shares game, which I always find distasteful. But
and that's the thing, you see, because it really does go so much against so many things that I really believe in. And you know, I was kind of thinking about the show that I'm doing and promoting their products, and thinking, but I really, as I say, it just would rather be, you know, so using it to show these fantastic new ideas and stuff. So you know, I'm really kind of caught between that really.
Right, I'm trying to let's see if I get that going in there, and I'll put myself in the corner.
But
yes. What was it? There was some other. Oh, did you see that OP1 thing? I could play that because that's actually got something that we can have quickly get in as a topic if you like.
Mm.
It might play as well. There it goes. This is obviously the Teenage Engineering OP1. I just love the idea of this because basically it's like a little thing that you put on top of a knob and a couple of elastic bands, and it's got software enhancements that allow you to kind of utilize it in various ways. And what I like about that whole thing is it's sort of cutting edge of technology together with elastic bands and what looks like a washing up bottle top. I just love the idea of that. And I don't know if anyone, I know none of you have got OP1s, and you know, people are sort of torn whether it's like way overpriced or whether it's the coolest thing since sliced bread. But I just like that concept. I mean, Dave, one's got to appreciate the sort of the idea of elastic bands and knob caps, surely.
I thought it was just brilliant, really brilliant. We used to do little overlays for the Fat Boy. You know, it's like if you're using the JV1080, you can put this overlay, and I sent that to Chris and just went, it's come on a little way since overlays. Now they've got rubber bands. That would have been really cool, wouldn't it? Yeah. Very cool the way it was implemented in software as well, though.
Yeah, really neat. So it can tell that the knobs.
Yeah, what the gizmo is. Yeah. Very cool. Nice, good fun thing.
Good fun thing. I know, Gaz, you like the idea? Have you got? Well, actually, I was going to ask you, Dave. Actually, have you got anything similar that you do with any of your analog synths that allow you to kind of do multiple knob twiddling or button pressing at the same time?
No, but I'm quite adept at knob twiddling. I can. No, I use these fingers, and I use them to roll the outside of the knob, so I can actually do things like that.
Ah, okay. The only one I got was sticking down a key on the MS-20 so that there's always a note playing, and then you just trigger that and gate it with a piece of tape.
Well, I'm starting to shift out of here, weirdly enough, but the Andromeda which is normally just up there, normally I've used that for like, because you can program arpeggios and sequences into it, and normally what I do is take a business card and just wedge it, wedge a note down, and then just turn it down. And sometimes it's like that for weeks because I never turn anything off. And Chris comes in and sometimes just sort of turns it up and goes, "Oh yeah, nice arpeggio." Thanks.
Oh, is that like? Don't you get screen burn though? It's like having the same image on an LCD or a CRT. It just kind of like stays there forever. There'll be a ghost of that arpeggio on it, no matter what you play in the future. I don't know, Gaz. Have you got anything like that you kind of the crank and with the elastic band style?
I can't think. No, I don't think so. But I mean, I did find it very amusing. Those guys are as much into design and as they are maybe the musical side of things. Because there's a whole range of stuff. All those little kind of tiny little pieces of plastic, they all come in their neat little bags, don't they? And then there's this little kind of new bag for the whole thing to go into. And because I think the company Teenage Engineering, don't they? Before they did the OP1, they were doing, they'd make like desk lamps but all about design, all about design. So, I think it's quite interesting, isn't it? This kind of, avant-garde-ish kind of design company making a synthesizer. So, but do we know how much those little pieces of plastic cost?
I'm sure they're massively overpriced, but I mean, they can't be, hundreds of pounds or anything. But yes, I'm sure they cost way more than they cost. I don't suppose they sell you an elastic band though.
But you're absolutely right, though. In the using little things like that, it's so cool to try and. It's actually inspired me now. I'm thinking of what I can use similarly now. So it's definitely got my mind thinking along those lines. So I'll report back on that.
And also, it does outline the fact that those are military grade spec knobs, and they have some sort of ridiculous operating temperature and a number of times that you can twist them. So they're not worried about that.
As you saying that, the Cuneo, the more I'm living with the Cuneo for just unusual ways of, changing parameters, the kind of various pressure things that you can do with the Cuneo is quite cool, and you can, and that's quite physical as well. You can do I'm doing some quite wicked physical stuff with the Cuneo, kind of hitting it quite hard, and but to trigger in kind of sound effects with touch and location, so I suppose that's kind of been occupying a lot of my creating.
Yeah, I just finished up the review actually. I've just been in communication with Keith himself. Actually replied to my emails and said, just a couple of points that I'd mentioned, things that were slightly, just needed a bit of clarification. So I've just got to tweak that up. But I feel honoured that he actually he was my he was my point of contact.
Yeah, and I mean it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, he is quite an interesting character in a way, isn't it? If you kind of look at what he's done and what he's created over the years, and electric violin, the electric bow, isn't it? With that I think he's created, and
Mark Tinley wants to join us. I'm just going to go and get him because we're doing topics now. Fair enough, Mark. Let's just. Hey, Mark.
Hello.
Oh, you're still listening to us. Gosh, I don't know how far out we are.
Oh God, I don't know. I thought, hang on a minute, they're doing topics.
Yes, we are. Welcome, Mark. Mark Tinley, likebeing.com, just coming at the last minute. Actually, I wanted to. We were just talking about that kind of idea of the OP1 and the kind of bend and the crank and the elastic band and stuff. I just wondered whether you had any other similar tricks that you could do with tape. Wedges or anything else that you do with synth or equipment.
Yeah, I was just saying in the chat room, gaffer tape's always good, or carpet tape actually. And if you just cut the end of the roll and then stick it on a key and hang it down and use the weight of the tape to pull the key down, that always works quite well. Fishing weight. But I discovered something last night. It's funny you should be talking about this because I've been playing with my V-Synth. I've actually got it plugged in, and I bought this new binaural 3D plug-in from a company called Longcat in France, and it's now that is really cool. It's really believable binaural spatializing. But I started teaching Logic the controllers on the synth, and I discovered that I can map one controller to various different things. So that becomes quite interesting because you can turn one knob and then a whole load of things move in different directions. So I'm going to play with that a little bit more and see if I can experiment with, like, using a minimal amount of knobs to do multifunctional
the maximum
things.
amount of damage. Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
Interesting
With
idea.
a little bit of remapping in the environment, you can set up all sorts of weird things that I'd never thought of before, and I kind of came to it by accident, really. So.
Oh, interesting. I just realised, not realised, next week we're going to be having, hopefully, the winner of the Iris competition, because the winners have been announced. I'm going to throw up the page here. The Isotope Sonic State competition results. I just want to run through them quickly, just because, this was the sort of nub of the competition, and we had a little bit to do with the at least the initial discussions. Dave Spiers is here, of course, who is the producer of said instrument, Iris. The winner was a guy called Tom Blazoukas, Noise X Sound Design, because he entered one in sort of pretty much every category, and everybody who judged it, PJ got involved, and Mark, and also there were a few guys over at Isotope, picked one of his in one category, so that's why he's the overall winner. Ambient was a chap called Alan Stoger from Cambodia, of all places. He won, and then Isotope very kindly also gave runner-up prizes for all of the categories too. So everyone's a winner. Then we had the ambient runner-up was Rishab Rajan with 6 Cents. The pad category was won by John Leafcutter from the UK with what was the name of the track? I can't see it from here. It doesn't quite work. And Stephen Hodd, USA, with the New Life, which was a great one, which was made from a sonogram of his sister's baby, which sounds really cheesy, but it's actually very beautiful and is actually sounding great. Melodic Henrik Iwan from China with Liquid Dance. Melodic runner-up Jope from Denmark with Ents. The Sonic Talk, Andy Dollison with Dark and Bullish, which is very I feel I should play this one because this one is really a bit disturbing. This is the winner for the Sonic Talk category. I don't know who he used, but you were very popular, Mark, in a lot of the clips. But this just is rather disturbing. And just sort of makes me think of kind of sci-fi devils, which I know in the flesh we're nothing like that. Anyway, the Sonic Talk runner-up, Soothsayer. Most popular was Anton Dybowski from Poland with Morph Drone. He's the guy who got the most votes and favourites and tweets and what have you. So I just wanted to say congratulations everywhere. Hopefully next week we'll have Tom Blazoukas on to tell us how he did what he did, and just a general bit of a chit-chat. So congratulations to everybody, and thanks again. Mark, what were your impressions of the overall level of entrance?
Very impressed. Very, very impressed, actually. I'd spent, I think when I said to you, shall I get involved with this? And you said yes, that was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and about 11 o'clock at night, I sent you my findings, didn't I?
Yeah.
So I spent almost half a day, well, probably an entire working day, I suppose, listening to them.
Well, there were about 2.5 hours.
There was a lot, wasn't there? Yeah. And then, of course, by the time you categorize everything and break it down into the ones you like and start putting them into different windows and sort of making sure I'd got all the right URLs and people had put them in the right tags and everything else. I mean, I really like the sort of width sound things that have like kind of a width and a sheen to them, and I read everybody's notes to see what they'd done and how they'd done it, and It was important to me that they'd used Isotope to really find the sound, I suppose.
Because I found there were instances where the musical idea was really strong and you thought, oh, that's great, but then when you thought about it, it was like, well, actually, but the sound itself is quite basic. So
it seemed a bit pointless to, well, not, I've got to be really careful what I say, actually, but how can I phrase this? If somebody put in their notes that they made a sound with something like Yuhi Zebra to make the sound, and then they put it into Isotope, I'm sort of thinking, well, what could they have picked out of that sound that would make it significantly different to the input source? And the joy with Isotope to me is that you take something that's got like loads of stuff going on. Like I've actually just been doing a project where I needed to get the call sign from a Heathrow airport that goes bong, bong. And it was in a really busy, crowded kind of airport scene. And I just put this sound, I thought, I know how to do that. Put it straight into the Isotope RX synth. Double clicked on the bong and then was able to play it on keys instantly. So that's what it's good for. It's good for pulling sounds out of things. So if you just made a synth sound with Zebra,
what's going on in the background there?
Pull out. East started.
Okay. No, that's all right. No, it's fine. I was just thinking, wow, what's that?
You could remove that.
But yeah, brilliant. I mean, some brilliant imagination, brilliant use of the stuff. I mean, the one thing that did come out of this, and I don't know if anybody else has found this, but SoundCloud is god awful for doing this kind of thing. I mean, it's great for acquiring the stuff, but then when you just go, I want to see all the things in this group that have the pad tag, you just can't do it. And then, if you wanted to make playlists, go, right, here's my shortlist to play. You can't. It was an absolute organisational nightmare. I mean, SoundCloud love them. You know, they did tweet about the competition and what have you, which is fantastic. But they really could do with some change of functionality, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, you should be able to click on a tag and get everything with that tag in that category up, right?
Well, you'd think.
Yeah.
It's only database. It's only database.
All other databases work like that, don't they? So.
Or to be able to create your own playlist like you can on YouTube. But only the person who uploads the track can add their own tracks to a playlist. It's really...
Yeah, but even so, you still can't do that, can you? You still can't just go, I want all things with the word pad, and I'm just going to playlist that little lot.
That would be useful. With it anyway, it's a moan. I mean, perhaps it's a feature request rather than a moan. Yeah, exactly. Apparently, John O'Wise in the chat row says SoundCloud, there's a new one to come out. So maybe that'll be fixed. But anyway... probably not best to diss the people who are helping us with it, but I think they could probably do with a little bit of input on the way that it works. Because I mean, there's nothing wrong with if you're looking around on SoundCloud and you found a load of cool stuff. There's no way you can bring it all together in a kind of this is some cool stuff I found. There's no way of collating it, and it seems that missing a trick there, because then people could embed that and it would just help propagate the whole kind of concept of SoundCloud, really.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that sounds a bit ungrateful, but nonetheless, it is a great system for acquiring the stuff and allowing people to join in. I know, Dave. I was
just going to say, with SoundCloud, if they were really clever, they'd take that DJ software, which I've again forgotten what it's called, which works out the musical key, the BPM of the music. It's something that DJs use for harmonic mixing. If SoundCloud were really clever, they'd implement that. And they tag everything on SoundCloud with its musical key and its, its relationship. So
not a bad idea. And then crowdsource it for it being fixed. Dave, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to much of the stuff, but I mean, you must be aware of what Iris has been able to do, and there was some great stuff in there. I don't know if you got a chance to hear any of it.
I did listen to some of the selections. I didn't want to kind of get involved in any of the judging and stuff like that. First of all, I don't have the time at the minute, and secondly, I kind of thought it would be a bit wouldn't be correct.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. I wasn't fishing for an apology or anything.
I'm not giving you one.
I'm so glad.
But I did listen to a few of them, and in fact, sometimes I suffer from kind of judging fatigue, because there's all sorts of people sending us stuff in going, oh, what do you think of this and what do you think of that? Like we're some kind of record label, and also doing that Reason song competition. I think I've done it twice now. Yes, because I did it with the the Retron thing as well. And I find it really... I think the standard is just amazing now, and that's what kind of really... what I thought with this, and this... I had this idea of what the product should sound like, or what it should enable people to do. And then when I kind of started listening to this, I genuinely got a little bit choked, actually, kind of thinking, wow, there's all these people from all over the world kind of using this instrument and doing really, really creative things with it. Stunning. It's kind of
no, absolutely.
A little bit of a moment for me.
Yeah, fantastic. Gaz, I can see you're busy talking about the Cuneo in the chat room. And have you been spending a bit more time with that? Because I'm like I said, I've got the review coming out a little bit soon.
Yeah. Although actually, to be fair, the Wahoo was taking up most of my time. But of which there's a review of now. Which
there is.
Am I allowed to say that?
Well, when it's Andy's going to be working on it sometime in the near future, definitely.
Cool. But yeah, I mean, just talking about a few things about the Cuneo. I suppose the thing with something like the Cuneo, because it's not exactly like anything else that's been out before, it's similar to things, but it's going to take some time, I think, to really explore. We're talking about how some of the facilities, like there's some rotary discs on there, which I've not really enjoyed them. I have to be honest. And also the using the sliders as accurate sliders is just like they're a bit too spongy and a bit too vague.
Well, I think in my review I say what would be really good is to have a shift like you do with with some soft synths where you click and then then they become much more higher resolution. So you kind of click and then that whole travel is maybe like a value of 10 rather than
Well, what I was kind of interested to try and achieve with the Cuneo is finding ways where within the editor that you could kind of program things just like an octave switch, for instance.
For the pads?
For the pads. Yeah. But you can't do anything like that at all.
Apparently you can if you're in grid mode, but so Keith said, but it was completely unobvious to me, so it's that criticism still stands for me. Yeah, transposing pads is one of the most obvious functions that any pad controller should have. Because you're kind of getting into the groove, you go, oh, brilliant, and then you just think, oh, I just need, a cowbell. Oh, bloody hell. And now I've got to stop, assign a pad to a cowbell, find the sound, rather than just go, up, 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 there it is. It's just, no-brainer. I can't believe nobody's done it.
Well, especially because, I've been finding using it with the iPad is really good fun, and I really like the two things together because, the iPad is great for certain things, but, it's not very good as a percussive type of, playable surface. So, whereas the Cuneo, that's where it would excel at. But haven't got I need to have things like octave switching, and I'd like to be able to just transpose. I mean, transpose would be
I think that
correct.
Make a lot of sense. Anyway, I suppose we're probably. I'm not going to get too many more topics on the go because it's getting quite late, and I'm going to have to go and make the tea. So I want to say thanks to everybody for joining us, and thanks for Mark for stepping at the last point there, and also thanks very much to the Eccentronic Research Council guys. I appreciate them taking time out because I know they were supposed to be getting together to work on stuff, and probably talking to me was a massive distraction. But thank you very much to them, and don't forget you can buy their stuff on Finders Keepers Records, the URL of which is if I put it up there, it's probably going to go. It's finderskeepersrecords.com, and there's a big buy this now button here, which I heartily recommend I did, and it's a nice album, and it gets you thinking. It's got words that make you think, which I think is not something we get all that often. Maybe a little bit UK centric in terms of politics and references, but hey, no apologies. So anyway, I want to say thanks very much, first of all, Dave Spiers, G-Force Software. Thank you for joining us. Well, thanks first for hooking us up with those guys and joining us this week in your shirt. You're looking like you're about to go to another meeting.
No, I'm not.
No.
I'm going for a beer.
Oh, God, wouldn't I love to do that? I can't think the last time I've done that. That's a thought.
I nearly came down to see you, actually, the other day.
I wish you had.
We were rehearsing at Real World, and it was their last day, and I was going to come down and see them, and I thought, I'll go and see Nick and get for a beer, but then it just didn't happen.
Never mind. Don't let that idea put you off any other time doing that, of course.
Definitely.
Anyway, Dave, thanks very much for joining us. And we'll also say thank you to Gaz Williams, who has video, I'm afraid, is disintegrated. Your new provider is no better than the last one, frankly.
I was having this problem with the last one. I mean, my studio is quite a long way away from the router, but I don't know if that's the problem.
Yes. But if you haven't got a wire, then wireless will always out.
Is over wireless. I'll have to look at maybe.
I've got something very clever. Can I phone you in a minute, Gaz, to talk to you about Ergo?
Of course you can, yes, absolutely.
And I'll tell you a hot tip about how to get wired internet around your house.
Excellent. Well, anyway, Gaz, thank you very much. And also, there's Mr. Lord Tinley from likebeing.com.
Hello.
reclining. Is that a new kitchen? Hold on, it doesn't normally look like that, or is that just a new angle of your camera?
No, it's just a different angle. I've got the laptops the other way round today. So normally you see it like that, I think.
That's right. Yes, I do. That's it.
Today,
we've swapped love for a fridge.
For about 30 degrees or something. You're now, we've swapped love for a fridge. Yeah.
Love and bunting. Thank you very much, Mark, and thanks everybody for listening on the live stream and all of that stuff. We'll be back next week where we'll have the winner of the Isotope Iris competition, fine sounding everything, Tom Blazuk. I'm going to pronounce this right. Tom Blazukas, I think his name is. Tom Blazukas, that's right. So that's it for Sonic Talk for this week. What shall I play us out with? Oh, I wanted to play us out with a little bit of All Seeing Eye, The Beat Goes On, but not too much, because otherwise I'll get done for copyright nonsense. But here it comes. Oh, I'll play it there. I can do that, can't I? Actually, this is iMonster. And I'll talk over it, because if I don't, the copyright infringement engine in YouTube will cause me all sorts of problems. So while I do that, I'm just going to head over here and I'll switch off the YouTube recording